All right, here we are, Dakota Ridge Trail in the foothills outside Denver, Colorado. Gonna do some fit testing with the BOA team. We got played in the Speedlands, these prototype GS TAM shoes here. We'll see what it feels like to run this loop with the plate in. Then we'll come back and do a lap with the plate out.
Yep.
Bunch of laps, let's go.
If your heel variation in pressure goes up and down a lot, that's probably indicative of bad heel hold. If you're lifting off the sole. The things on the back are inertial measurement units. So there's 3 sensors, a gyroscope, an accelerometer, and a magnetometer. Basically just a fancy way to let us know how quickly your foot is moving as well as the angles of it. If you're always taking more time to move forward, we can measure that down to the step level rather than over the course of the whole trail.
Wow. Played out for the next lap. Yeah, shoes feel great. This will be interesting though, because like I've been fascinated about like when it's best to have the plate in.
Yeah.
And so I'd love to sort of see how the efficiency compares, especially on the descent.
Yeah.
Because sometimes with the carbon in, you can feel like the propulsiveness is not an advantage because you want to be precise with your footing.
Especially on the technical stuff.
And you can be a little bit more precise without the plate. That's why I love these shoes, and I love the innovation of being able to take the plate out.
So we're also just going to measure your heart rate,
Cool.
as well as, GPS. The nice thing with the IMUs on the back of your foot here is that, we can do some quick calculations and actually derive step-by-step speed. We can actually start to see when you slow down, when you speed up, because of different technical terrains.
And at the end of the day, we just want to understand from a BOA perspective, if something fits better, what improves with that. From just the shoe in general perspective though, like working with Dave and with Kevin, it's like, how can you make this shoe just perform better overall? It's not just the fit system, because the fit system interacts with the carbon plate, the midsole, outsole. So putting that all together, this kind of testing I think is really awesome. And then what you'll see this afternoon is sort of the in-lab portion of it.
Amazing.
Nice work.
Damn,
How was it?
smashed it. All right, so I just finished up a 5K, 3.15 miles here. So this route is just about a mile, and you have a mix of sort of gradual climbing with some switchbacks, some more technical climbing, and then sort of a gradual rolling section along the top before sort of a smooth descent with a few little technical sections. So it's a good mixed trail, and we did 1 lap with the plate in. I've got my new prototype GS TAM Speedland shoes, and we'll go see how it compares with the plate in versus the plate out, and see if we can get any information about the fit and where we can improve.
So welcome to the Performance Fit Lab. Here's where we test basically all the products that has BOA on it.
Beautiful space.
Yeah, so we started the Performance Fit Lab 4 years ago. Basically the idea was if we can improve the fit of products, we should be able to show that that changes performance in some way.
Yes, so this is some of your data from earlier today. And this is actually from those IMUs that we had stuck on the back of your shoe. So through this, we can actually examine your step-by-step running speed. And the blue line shows you running with the plate, and then the orange line shows you running without that plate in there. And so you see with running with the plate here, you actually had some variations, and this initial part's going uphill. So you had a couple, like, I don't want to say miscues, but like slower portions right here. And then you can definitely see as you go on, and then this last portion right here is when you're running downhill.
Faster without the plate.
It's slightly faster, yeah.
So we're gonna start putting markers around different parts of his body. We're just gonna do his left side because that's the side that the cameras are on. So while he's running, that's what we'll see. So all of these little reflective dots are what are seen really clearly by the camera. So these are really, really reflective when infrared light is shown on them, and that's what's going to allow us to really precisely see the movement of his body. So we can track these down to the millimeter level during running. If you can just point towards where your camera is kind of working, just we draw on you a little bit, but
It's so nuts.
you should have plenty of space just to run normally, but if you start drifting too far back. So we want this kind of like the markers. Cool.
All right, bring you up to 8-minute pace here in 3, 2, 1.
All right, so now we're just gonna have Dylan warm up and kind of find the right pace for this activity. So every single time his foot hits the ground, we're measuring the movement of his joints that you saw on the computer earlier, so you can still see we're tracking his skeleton in real time. We're also measuring how much oxygen he breathes in and how much carbon dioxide he breathes out. As you start running faster and faster, you're gonna breathe out more carbon dioxide than relative to the oxygen you breathe in. And past a certain point, when that ratio goes to more CO2 and less O2, you're not gonna be able to run much longer. So we don't wanna get him all the way to that point. We wanna get him to a point that would be nice and sustainable for about an hour. And that's the economy that we're gonna test over the course of 5 minutes in each shoe. But for the first 5 minutes, we're just gonna make sure he gets comfortable, gets used to it. You can play around with the paces. So Dylan, as you wanna go faster or slower, just thumbs up, thumbs down, and we'll adjust it. And then we'll go from there. So when we're looking at these charts here, that ratio of oxygen to carbon dioxide I talked about is this number here. So right now it's at 0.77, 0.78. That's pretty low. That means he's primarily burning fats. He's expelling not a ton of CO2, and he's breathing plenty of oxygen in. As we go faster and faster, that number is going to get closer to 1, and this number is going to spike up. Once we get to a comfortably hard level, we'll then look at what his average rate of oxygen consumption is across the 2 shoes. Ideally, lower is better. If you can use less oxygen to breathe at a given pace, that's better.
7-minute pace in 3, 2, 1.
So, like we saw on the trail, maybe you're a little faster on the technical descent without a plate, but maybe you're going to be a little bit more efficient with the plate in.
All right, going to 8-minute pace here in 3, 2, 1.
We do have one last part of our testing that we typically do is we'll have you run at the same gradients you were running just for 30 seconds though on the trail. So we'll put the treadmill uphill and downhill, and we'll get an understanding of how your biomechanics differ between on the trail and here.
Okay.
So we'll do 30 seconds up, 30 seconds down, you'll just switch directions, and then we can switch shoes.
Oh, okay, cool. So this was your first trial where there's no plate. This is your trial when there's a plate. You just kind of look at the numbers, you can't see a huge difference. But if you take the average of with plate, it was about 0.7% lower. So you were more economical with the plate. Wow.
So, which is what would make sense, right? So, if you're running and you have a long non-technical section of an ultra, maybe it makes sense to have it in there. Based on the field data, maybe it makes sense to have it out when you're doing a technical or a longer descent. Maybe if you're thinking about something like hard rock, that's where like you don't need it on the way down, but something like Western States, maybe you'd want it.
So here in green are the forces that you exert on the ground with each and every footstep.
Okay.
So your body weight is right around probably 800 newtons. So you see each and time that you take a step, you have well over 2.5 body weights that you're exerting on the ground with each step.
Okay.
Right. And then if you think about that within your body, then those muscles are also creating forces on your bones. So you have about 5 to 6 times your body weight even acting on your bones in each step that you're taking. So you can look at this just throughout time and see how those ground reaction forces, you know, there's going to be slight variations as you're running, right? They're not going to be exactly the same peaks as you're kind of adjusting throughout the run, or you know, if you're kind of getting to a nice pace.
We can at BOA modulate how the shoe fits to fit a wider brand of people. That's awesome.
Amazing.
And that's that.
So cool. Thanks, guys. All right, we're just wrapping up here at BOA HQ in Denver, Colorado. An awesome day hanging out with the BOA crew, checking out the Performance Fit Lab, collecting some data, which we're gonna take back to Dave and Kevin at Speedland to use with the development of the GS TAM, which is coming soon. So big thanks to BOA. Keep your eye out for the new shoe.